Hey everyone, you don't want to know what's going on in Aiken. You want to know what's shaking in Aiken. Hey, it's your host, Brian Katana, Aiken native and your favorite realtor. And we have a fun show today. I have with us Richard Loper. So who's Richard Loper? Well, he is one of the members of the Swinging Medallions, a band out of Greenwood, South Carolina that's been around like 60 years. You know that song, Double Shot My Baby's Love? Well, that's the Medallions. So they are playing down Newberry Street on Fridays, an event put on by the Aiken Standard. They do it every year. They got sand out there, and it's a beach blast. And for those of you guys that are from the north or out west, wherever, and don't really know what Carolina beach music is, well, come on down. You're going to learn about it. You're going to see people doing a dance called the shag. It's a lot of fun. It's a dance where you can hold your partner's hand in one hand and your beer in the other. So this is, I think, the third time that the Aiken Standards had the Medallions in. They are a fun party band. I'll say it again. They are a fun party band for everyone. The whole family can come down there. It's a great event. So you get down there on Friday. So I'm going to quit talking and let's hear an interview with Richard Loper. Hey everyone, we have a real treat today. So this Friday on Newberry Street in Aiken, the Aiken Standard sponsoring something. They do it every year. Where they have a beach band come in, and they have my favorite beach band coming in this week, and that is the Swinging Medallions out of Greenwood, South Carolina. And we're lucky enough to have Richard Loper with us. Richard, how you doing today?
Hey man, how's it going?
Man, I'm doing great. And I should have said Richard, and tell me if I'm wrong. You are the trumpet player, and you do some vocals. Is that right?
That's true. Yep. Everybody in the band does a little something different, and so we all kind of switch around, play a little keyboard, play a lot of trumpet, a lot of singing. So yeah.
Okay. And folks, if you've never seen the Medallions, they are, well, Richard, I know, but tell us, what is y'all's nickname?
The party band of the South, and
And
Louis Grizzard kind of hung us with that years ago. We were good friends with Louis, and he mentions the band in a lot of his books, and so we were playing a party for him somewhere. I think we were down at Sea Island during Georgia
uh-huh.
Florida week, and he kind of stuck that in there in our description or our resume, and so it's just kind of stuck ever since.
And folks, if you don't want to have fun and dance and laugh and have a good time, don't come out Friday night because these guys have a lot of fun. It's nonstop action. So, Richard, tell us a bit of background about yourself.
Uh, Born and raised in Greenwood, have been lucky to been able to go all over the world with these guys, but I was born and raised here and used to think I couldn't wait to get away from here. But after
Right.
being in other places, you find out where you grew up is not so bad after all, because we're a lot like Aiken. We're about the same size as Aiken here in
That's right. Very
Greenwood.
much. Yep.
Have a university here. It's about the same size as USC Aiken, and so it's just a cool little place to raise your kids and grow up. And I decided I was of course a band nerd in high school and loved playing in band, and said, hey, I can make my life of this. But I was planning on being a music teacher. I would have been a band director had I not ended up with the Medallions. But I was in class at Lander University studying music, and there was this cool looking kid that played saxophone in a jazz band with me. Had the 80s wind tunnel tested
Uh-huh.
flock of
Yeah. Yeah.
seagulls haircut. And it was Sean McElrath, whose dad John was the founder and originator of the band.
Okay.
And he approached me in class and says, hey man, my dad's got this little band and we need a trumpet player. You want to come to rehearsal and see what you think? This was 1986, my sophomore year at Lander. Well, yeah, sure, I'll come over and see what's going on. And I vaguely knew about the band and who they
Uh-huh.
were, and had hit records back in the '60s, but had no clue what I was getting myself into at the time. But
Right.
been there in one form or fashion ever since, pretty much.
Good. And folks, if you don't know, most of you probably do. The Swing Medallion started what in 62, 63? What?
'62 is when they originated, and they were all at the time they were all Lander students, Lander college students.
Really?
Lander had just gone co-ed. And so they were encouraging men from the area to come to school there. And these were all guys that grew up on the Mill Hill in '96, which
How
is
about
a
that?
little one town over from Greenwood, little mill
Yeah.
town, textile town, kind of like some of the places down in the valley there close to you guys.
Right.
And so kind of lower middle class families for the most part. So here they are going to Lander, and they just wanted something to do for fun, to make a little pocket change and pick up girls. And
Right.
so
Yeah,
that's kind of how
exactly.
the band got
That's why
started.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
why I joined a band, right? So
exactly, man. Pick up chicks, man.
and of course their big song is Double Shot My Baby's Love, which is still popular here, what, 50 years, no, 60 years later?
Yeah, 1966 is when it went to number one, and it was a song that they actually picked up on the road. they kind of played the college circuit, and I think they were down in Alabama somewhere playing. And it was kind of started out as kind of a fraternity drinking song, kind of a sing along thing that they picked up. And I think somebody else had done it at one point or another, but they picked it up and made a record out of it, mainly just to sell at shows. Wasn't meant to go nationwide by any way or form or fashion. And a DJ in Birmingham, Alabama, named Rod Roddy started playing it on the radio, and it kind of spread from there. So it wasn't like today when you release a record and everybody gets it at the same time.
Right. Yeah. They didn't have Apple Music and all that back then.
No. So that song kind of migrated south and then north and then west. And so in today's world, it would have probably gone to #1 much faster and probably stayed there longer, but it kind of had a staggered release, I guess you'd say. But yeah, like I said, it was just kind of something they did on a whim. And when the record company finally got a hold of it and decided to run with it, because they just released it on their own label called For Sale Records, the number 4 Sale, SALE. And so Mercury Records, I think it was a division of Mercury, picked it up and ran with it, but they wanted to make a kind of a polished, classier version of it. They wanted to kind of polish it up. And so they went in the studio and did it, and they hated it. They said, "This sucks. It doesn't sound like us."
Right.
So they wanted it to sound like a frat party, basically. And so they went into a studio in Charlotte, North Carolina, called Arthur Smith Studios. And Arthur Smith was kind of a bluegrass musician who had his own studio there in Charlotte. In fact, if you've heard Dueling Banjos, he was the guy that basically originated and started the Dueling Banjos.
Really? How about that?
So they went into his studio and recorded the song and literally pulled people off the streets of Charlotte to come in and hoop and holler and yell in the background. So if you ever listen to that song, take it and pan from left to right and right to left, and you'll hear things that you won't hear in the record. They come out a little clearer when you pan it back and forth, and you'll hear all the vocals and background sound on one side, and you hear all the music on the other side. But it's hilarious when you listen to it now. But another funny thing about that song is WABC, because it had the word hangover in it.
Okay.
And the fact that hangover was a bad word in 1966 amazes me when you listen to radio today and hear some of the stuff that comes across the radio today.
Yeah, so for what Carly B puts out today.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. My college age daughter had to tell me what WAP meant. So, I've had a sheltered life, but so they had to go back in the studio and make a version. So instead of saying worst hangover that I ever had, it's worst morning after that I ever had.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
So they did that for one radio station in New York City that wouldn't play their song, and occasionally you'll hear that song on the internet somewhere with that version. It just amazes me that you couldn't say hangover in 1966. It's crazy.
Richard, when you say it's a frat party song at the beginning when everyone's screaming, that reminds me of being at a frat house, and people going crazy and screaming and everything.
That song would very easily fit in the Animal House soundtrack from the back in the 80s. Yeah,
exactly. So being in the band, is that your full-time gig, or do you have another job?
I worked in the automotive industry during the week. I actually I actually left the band for a short period of time after my daughter was born, because at the time the band was playing close to 200 nights a year, and so I left for a little while and worked for Toyota for about 15 years and did internet stuff for Toyota. And so I've gone back to work just doing logistics for a Ford dealership here in Greenwood during the week. And it's just to give me something to do during the week when the band's not on the road. And the band makes good money, but we don't have benefits. I mean, we're basically all self-employed guys. And so a lot of us have stuff that we'll do during the week just to for the benefits or the retirement or whatever. So I've been back doing that now for a couple of years, but the band is my main thing. And that's always been like the #1 question I get from people that I've never met is it, what's your real job? I'm like,
you're right.
This is my real job.
So how many shows a year do you guys play on average?
We're probably around 100, give or take, right now.
Yeah, that's a lot.
We dropped back a good bit after COVID, and it's kind of built back up since then. The majority of what we do are things like in Aiken, outdoor festivals and concert series and things like that. We do some corporate things. We were in Sea Island, Georgia, at the Cloister last week for the Georgia Ports Authority. Yeah, terrible place to have to go play on a Monday. Everybody else is at work on Monday, and I'm down on Sea Island looking at the ocean. So we do some stuff like that during the week, corporate and convention stuff like that. But the majority of what we do are things like what we do in Aiken. But yeah, we're back to about 100 nights a year,
Okay.
and that's enough. That's 2, 3, 4 days a week in a lot of weeks
Right.
is just enough to kind of keep us all busy. I tell people we're like brothers. We love each other, but if I spend more than 2 or 3 days with them, we're all ready to choke each other.
I'm sure. Well,
I love you guys, but I don't want to see you for a week.
I know it's a saying that a guarantee that when a band gets together, it's a guarantee at some point in the future they'll break up. But you guys have been able to stay together. Now I assume there's no original members still in the band, right?
There's none that are still on the road now. There 4 of the original 8 guys are still alive and kicking, and they show up from time to time, and we give them the red carpet treatment anytime they show up.
How
They've
about
got
that?
absolutely an open invitation to come on stage anytime and sing and play with us. We had 3 of the 4 guys with us a couple of weeks ago. We did a benefit at Lander University
Okay.
for the John and Jane McElrath Music Scholarship, and we also dedicated a local highway in honor of John at the same
How
time,
about that?
kind of killed 2 birds with one stone. And 3 of the 4 guys showed up there, but they're all in their 80s now. They're
Yeah.
all in pretty good health,
Yeah.
and so I'd love to get them all together more often, and because like I said, nobody's getting any younger. None of us are guaranteed tomorrow, and so we love and cherish those guys, and we're filling some big shoes when it comes to the original guys for sure.
I actually went last year to Augusta. Frankie Valli was in concert. He's
Yeah,
89 years old, and he
I
didn't
saw he
dance
had a
rally you
birthday.
guys do, but he got
Yeah,
out there and sang all the songs. It was
and still
fantastic.
hits all the high notes. Amazes me. I mean, his
Uh,
voice is still there.
yep. So of the guys in the band now, I think a few of them are sons of original members. Is that right?
John and Shane McElrath are John's 2 sons. They've got a cousin in the band, John Smith Buckin, is their mother's brother's son, if you want to follow the family tree there. So we're keeping all the money in the family.
Right. Good. Good. Good.
and but
Good.
yeah, but it's second generation. I mean, we're
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
close in age,
Well,
and
I know most of the beach bands. That's how they all are. I mean, like the Drifters. There's none of the original
yeah.
Drifters still around, but
There at one point, I think there were 3 or 4 sets of drifters running around. I think if you ever
I
rode
think
the
there
bus
were
with the
two.
drifter, you could call yourself an original drifter. But the last original drifter was Bill Pinkney, who is the
He was
original
the
bass
last one,
singer.
really. Yeah.
He was the last one, and he was actually from down around Florence, down in that
Is that
vicinity out
right?
there. Or something. No, he was from Sumter. He was from Sumter, South Carolina.
Okay.
And so, I mean, this is a guy that was in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and in one point in his life had sold more records than Elvis.
Is that right? How
And
about that?
yeah,
Well,
but
they
yeah,
have
he
a
was the
great
last one.
catalog. So
Yeah,
so
we
you're talking about all the traveling you've done. Like, what's the furthest place you guys ever played together?
the band plays Hawaii occasionally. We've been up to Canada and played at Ottawa for the U.S. Embassy a few years back.
Okay.
We get down in the Caribbean, play the islands down there, out to Bermuda. Haven't been over to Europe or anything like that, but
Yeah.
it's kind of funny. Beach music it's kind of territorial. You say something about beach music, and if they're not from the South, they think you're talking about the Beach Boys.
Right.
And I'm
Yep.
like,
Yep.
nah, a little different. And we play some shows with the Beach Boys, and they're great guys, but it's a different kind of sound to it.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. And of course, when you say shag, people don't know what that is. And one time, my wife and I were in England, and we were dancing it, and some people said, "Oh, what is that dance?" We said the shag, and shag over there
Oh yeah.
is something else. So that they just don't know what it is. But it's
In fact, when we played the U.S. Embassy in Canada a while back, and the ambassador to Canada at the time was David Wilkins, who's from Greenville,
sure.
South
Yeah.
Carolina,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and he had been trying to put a show together for years up there with us. He would always have big Fourth of July parties with beach music and barbecue, and he would do it up Southern style.
Uh-huh.
And right before he left office, he said, "Okay, guys, we got to put something together and make this work because I'm getting ready to leave. If you ever want to do this, we got to do it now." And we already had commitments for the week of 4th of July. And so we literally put 2 bands together. We put some original guys and some past guys together and had a band stay here in South Carolina and Georgia and Florida and play our commitments here. And then
Right.
we sent a band to Canada, to Ottawa. And when they got up there, they were talking about the shag and going to have a shag contest. And the people had this terrified look on their face like, they're going to have a contest?
Yeah.
These crazy Americans have contests for that. And then and David Wilkins came over, the ambassador, and he's like, you got to quit saying that word. It means something different here. And so we had to kind of had to kind of put the kibosh on the
Yeah,
shag word because, like you said, it's if you have any kind of British background like the Canadians do,
right.
that's not a shag. Having a shag contest would probably not be acceptable.
Right, right. Now, Richard, were you the band? I know years ago, Springsteen was in Greenville and he had the Medallions come to sing Double Shot. Were you in the
Yep.
band there at that
I
time?
was in the band at that time, but most of the guys that you see on stage in that video are original guys.
Are they?
He
Okay.
had some original guys up there. We were all there. We were all in the background hanging out, but he was a big fan of the band when he was a kid. And they
About that.
back in the day, back in the late '60s, early '70s, they played up and down the shore all the time.
Uh-huh.
And they said, that they had this kid that kept hanging out, and talk about how much he loved them and all that. And they said, just said, he was just a regular kid kind of hanging out. And it turned out it was Bruce Springsteen,
About
and
that.
he loves the band. I mean, he's a big, huge fan of the band, and we were in the process of getting inducted into the South Carolina Music Hall of Fame at some point, and they were talking about him coming down and doing the induction because he
About
loves
that.
the band so much.
About that.
But he has a countdown show that he does on his XM radio station, E Street Radio,
Uh-huh.
and he did a countdown. He has a different theme every so often. I think he actually calls us a garage band. That's what he considers us.
Okay.
And he picked us as his number one garage band, and Double Shot was his number one pick for that week.
How about that?
So yeah, so I mean, I thought that was kind of cool. When Bruce Springsteen gives you a thumbs up, that's
No,
kind of, hey, we must be doing something right.
I know. I know. So you guys are not in the South Carolina Music Hall of Fame?
Uh, they're in the process of getting something put together now. John, the guy that started the band, he's in the South Carolina Music Hall of Fame
He
already,
is.
and
Okay.
we're in the. They have what they call the Carolina Beach Music Hall of Fame down in Myrtle Beach that they do every year. They have what they call the Cammys, which is kind of their version of the Grammys,
Okay.
and we were inducted into that a good many years ago.
Right.
But this is something new. It's I think it's actually music and entertainers.
Gotcha.
Because I've seen where they've got all kind of local celebrities inducted into that, but that's something that's been in the works for a while, and we'll probably do something with them in the near future. Hopefully, we'll make an announcement and we'll let you in on it too when
Yeah,
that
yeah.
happens, and it'll probably be held in Myrtle Beach, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So
Yep.
guys, come out again. It's on Newberry Street. That's the festival street, right beside the alley. Come down
Yep.
early, have a little dinner down there. I'm sure if you don't have dinner, I'm sure they're gonna have food trucks and stuff because they always have. Does the show start at 7 or 8? Do you know what time? I'm not even sure what time it does.
I want to say it starts around. I think gates open at 6, and we start around 7:15, from what I
Okay.
saw. But yeah, I've been encouraging people to get there early. I mean, Aiken has a great downtown vibe. You
Mhm.
guys have a lot of cool shops and restaurants and boutiques and things like that. So I'm encouraging people to come down early and spend the day.
Yeah,
And like I said, get you some dinner. They're gonna have food there. I think they're gonna have some opportunities to get some drinks and adult beverages close by,
they
probably.
have that.
Uh,
They sure do. Yep, yep. And you bring your chairs, set it up. Typically, the standard has they bring in sand out front so you can get out there and dance
yep.
and shag and have a big. I mean, bring your kids, bring your parents, bring. I mean, it's a show for everyone. It's a fantastic time.
It's eight. We always joke that the band appeals to 8 to 80. I mean, it's just
Right.
you get people that bring their grandkids and people that bring their kids. It's very the music that we do just amazes me, the staying power that it has, and people have raised their kids and their grandkids on this music.
Yep. Yep.
And you and I were talking about the shag a while ago, and we always joke about the shag is maybe a dying art, but if you go down to Myrtle Beach, they have competitions with kids and young people now, and
Right.
I mean, so it's still alive and kicking. I mean, there's people that still teach their kids how to do it and their grandkids how to do it, and it's kind of a cool Southern tradition. And of course, it's been the
Uh,
state dance of South Carolina for a
with,
good many
with,
years now too. So
with the couple that runs the shag club here in Aiken, they've been giving shag lessons, I bet, for 50 years. They still do it, and the
yeah,
lessons usually sell out. And so, yeah, people here in Aiken know how to shag, and
and I tell young guys all the time. I said, if you know how to shag, girls love that. I mean, if you can
girl,
dance with a girl and spin her around and dip her and spin her, hey, that's not a bad skill to have as a young man these
no,
days.
no, sir, no, sir. Well, Richard, I really appreciate you coming on. We're going to see you on Friday,
Sure,
and folks, get on down and see the medallions. Thanks a lot, Richard.
sounds great. Looking forward to it.
Okay, as you guys know, I am a real estate agent with Starnes Realty, and I always like to give you a market report to see how the real estate market in Aiken County is going. So for January February, and March, the market was slightly ahead of what it was the same period for 2024. April, though, we had a bit of a decrease. Somewhat more of a decent decrease than you'd want. So for the number of sold properties, we had 264 sold properties in April. A year ago, that was 298. That's down 11%. So why is that things are down? Well, let me give you these numbers. The median list price of a house in Aiken County for 2025 April was $339,900. A year ago, it was $309,000. So the median list price is up $30,000 as compared to a year ago. The median sales price, however, right this most recent month, was $293,000. A year ago, it was $291,000. That's only a $2,000 difference. So what does those numbers mean? That means prices are too high. So folks, you just can't put a high price tag on everything and just assume it's going to be sold. So when there's a discrepancy of $30,000 for the median list price, but the median sales price is only $2,000 difference, that will explain why sales were down 11%. So I just had this talk with a couple of my clients this week saying, hey, you've had a market or you've had a piece of property on the market for a while. It's not getting any contracts. You have it listed too high. Because in real estate, the market will tell you what that price should be going for. And so just last week, I had a property that was at 190. We dropped it down to 175. And guess what? We got a contract on it. So I think that's the biggest thing, that consumers are simply assuming they can continue to put high prices on things. And the market's showing that that just isn't happening. So I will say this, even with the downward month in April for the year, that only put us down 2.8% for the year. Again, January, February, March were actually above the same period for 2024. And this is blip in April has caused it to be down 2.8% for the entire year. As far as active lists and new listings, they're at a good number. Active listings are up 5% from a year ago. New listings are up 4.9%. And so those kind of numbers you want. You don't want huge aggregates being way too high or way too low to keep things pretty constant. And in fact, for pending listings, that is properties under contract, they are fairly consistent to what they were a year ago. So the Aiken market, compared to most areas in the state, has remained very strong. We don't have huge upwards, downwards. We are a steady market. Prices are very reasonable. I know I've told you this before. I have so many clients from other areas of the country, New York, New Jersey, California, and they come here and they're like, my gosh, I can buy 3 houses here compared to what the house I sold in my previous hometown was. They just can't believe how affordable things are, the cost of living, the taxes. People in New York come and say, hey, I've got a 2,500 square foot house in New York State. I pay $12,000 to $15,000 a year in taxes. Brian, what do you mean they're $900 a year? Yeah, they're $900 a year. That's what they are. So that is going to continue to have people come here. Plus, Aiken's a great town. It's a great place to live. And they can go see events, festivals like the Swinging Medallions Friday night. Well, hey, thanks for listening again. Had a lot of fun. Hope you come out Friday night. Hopefully we'll see you there. Do a little shagging. Come on by. I'll teach you if you don't know how to do it. So again, folks, you don't want to know what's going on in Aiken. You want to know what's shaking in Aiken. See you next time.